I wanna wake up in the morning where the orange blossoms grow, and the sun comes peeping in where I've been sleeping, and the songbirds say hello. I love the fresh air and the sunshine. It's good for us, you know. So I'll make my home in Florida where the orange blossoms grow.
Glad to see all three of you. Today we're going to talk about what it used to be called the North Pinellas Community Action Council. So we have three icons with us, community icons, and that is Charlie Jones and Jack Cox and Murray Smith. So welcome, guys. And Charlie, will you tell us where you were born and what year?
I was born in Palm Harbor, Florida in 1924.
Okay, so you're the native among us.
Yeah, right.
All right. And Jack, when were you born and where were you born?
Well, I was born in Greenville County, South Carolina. It's a little town called Travelers Rest. And that was in 1922.
Uh-huh. Okay. And Murray, where were you born?
I was born in the UK, in Sussex, England, June 30th, 1919.
I didn't know you were born in England.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
I migrated. When I came across the ocean, I was 60 days old.
Oh my. And so you were the littlest immigrant.
Didn't come to the States then. We came to Canada because my dad was a Canadian soldier and met
I
my mother
see.
during the war.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was a result of that.
The rest of it is history, yes. Well, welcome all three of you. Today we want to talk about the history of the North Pinellas Community Action Council, and we'll get to what it's become too. But how did it get started? Which of you started it, or did any of you start it?
Charlie Jones was on the original board of directors, you note there.
Right.
So he was the original with a group of community-spirited people that realized that Palm Harbor needed something for seniors.
Right.
This is going back into the early 70s when they started.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went to the county and worked out a program.
And the county, what was the county's role in it? Did they have to provide for funding? Did they have to provide a place? Did they have to provide consultation? I don't really know what the county's role was in those early days.
Well, as I look back and the building on Omaha Circle was used by Neighborly Senior Services,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how this thing got started. Then the committee started to build their own building, which was an intergenerational building. 50% of the building was for seniors, and 50% was for
Mm-hmm. Youth.
young people,
Right.
2, 3, 4, and 5 years old.
Okay.
And Northern Pinellas Community Action actually operated that daycare center. It was called a Child Development Center. And I became a volunteer in that in about 78 or 79 as a volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me stop you here, Marie. Charlie, how did you get these guys involved, since you're the one that has the greatest longevity here?
Well, just by word of mouth and asking people to help us out, because we had a job we should get done, the county expected us to get done, and so we had to go out and recruit the people that could help us, and we got quite a few really, really good people. And most of the people that started, I think, directors that when I was there on one of the first directors, most of them are dead now. I don't know any of them living around here. They're gone, but that still exists. That's been existing a long time. I remember when we started in the building right north of here, and then we decided the county decided to help us to build this building, and we got together and we helped design this building.
Wait, stop. We don't know where we are, and what does this building mean?
Well, this
building is the center is called now.
No,
Yeah.
He's talking about the Child Development Center and the Senior Center on 1600.
And
Omaha?
16.
On Omaha Circle?
No, Omaha Circle's a different program. That was.
Well, you've got me all confused now.
Well,
Let's get this straightened out.
Well, that-
So Charlie,
well,
help me.
This building here was a second building. The one that's north of us was one we first started with, and then this building come to pass. We had to draw the plans and get it approved by the county and everything, and of course the county was over us. All we did was to show them what we needed and what size of building we needed, and somebody to draw the plans, and so some of us got together and drew the plans to this building. Of course, we gave it to architect later on to build, to draw the plans and get the building started, but that's.
And that building is now used in what way, Charlie?
Well, it's just a community building right on it, and I think some people rent.
I think they have adult daycare there, don't they?
The building now is leased to AARP, 50% of the building, and the balance of the building has been converted to educational and exercise facilities for the Parks and Recreation.
I see. Okay, good.
Yeah, that building served a very important part of getting this building going, because that time that building wasn't big enough to support the things that need to be done in Palm Harbor, and so we decided that we needed a bigger building. The county, all across the county helped us, and there was a main responsibility for getting this building.
Let's back up a little bit, Charlie. So you got these two guys involved, and I think of, when I think of the North Pinellas Community Action Council, I think of you three, and the other one that is missing, and of course is gone now, is Jerry Hooker.
Jerry Hooker and Frank Manning.
Yes, that's right.
They were the five of us were the prime movers in the building, the new senior center.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's right.
It took us 4 or 5 years to convince our county that we needed this. And at the time, we gave them the building. We wanted a 15,000 square feet building, and they wanted to give us 10,000 square feet. We told them we didn't want to build a 10 because that's what we got now. Got to build for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so they conceded, and we got a building that has served Palm Harbor in many, many ways.
Yes. Jack, you were going to say something.
I would say that don't forget the Kiwanis Club of Palm Harbor.
Okay.
Because it was a source of a lot of the people who became involved and very, very closely involved. Jerry Hooker was one. We had Ched Smiley. You remember Ched Smiley?
I do remember Ched Smiley.
Ched Smiley
Yes.
had a thing going with the neighborly senior services, and he had a paper route. And people had a place to take their papers for recycling, newspapers, and other recycling things. And he had a recycling operation going in this little building down here at Palm Harbor, and that's where he got his funds, because he sold the paper at the going price, and tin cans and all sorts of things such as that. So,
Recycled stuff, yes.
With Ched Smiley was a lady called Phyllis Lodovicio. And Phyllis was a very helpful person, and she one day got a call, and I got a call from Phyllis, and she says, "There's a lady down here that she wants to give us a house." So I said, "Well, I'll come right down." So we had coffee over here in downtown Palm Harbor. I know the name of the coffee shop. Lady was a beautiful lady, and she wanted to do something because Palm Harbor had been very kind to her, she said, while her husband was living. So we asked a little bit about really don't look at a gift horse in the mouth, but it did need a little help. So we
Where was the house, Jack?
it's over on the bay in Tampa.
Oh, in Hillsborough County. Okay.
Hillsborough County.
Uh-huh.
So we got a few of our Kiwanis guys together, and whoever we could pile together with talent, and Jerry Hooker was one of those. He had real talent. And he had an eye for when he was right and when he was wrong. So we went over and we did that job on that house, and we put it up for sale, and Murray could tell you what happened to the sale, but we ended up with a cash of about $90,000,
Wow.
which was seed money for the new senior center, which is now called Century. We, I don't call CENTRE Center. But anyway, that was the way we got the seed money to start. And we had other fundraisers, and we had the people involved in our group that could do all sorts of things.
Right.
And we managed to function very, very well for quite a while. And then we come along to the merger. Now that I won't go into all that, but
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So what year did you get the house? Do you remember what year that was?
We got the house, it had to be in 99,
No,
98. 98.
It would probably be 89 or 90, would it?
Pardon?
It'd probably be
It was-
89 or 90.
98.
He thinks 98? I don't think so. It was earlier than that,
Oh,
Murray.
it was, or yeah, that,
I think it was in the 80s,
Yeah.
late 80s, maybe 1990.
Yes.
I thought it was in 1988.
Anyway,
It's
no
been a
big
long
deal.
time
It
ago.
was.
Went into the bank anyway.
Yep, right. It put some money in the bank to get the seniors
That's right,
center started. And did you always see the North Pinellas Community Action Council as just for seniors, or let's talk a little bit about that? Was it only for seniors, or was it meant to do other things in the community?
Well, I like the terminology that I used, that this, you have to remember this center that we had, the senior building that we got, that we had built, was our third attempt for funds to build. We made 2 attempts to build a recreation building, and it failed. And so the board decided, hey, we'll go for seniors, and we'll see if we can't get some help that way. And we did, eventually got the building. But the theme was senior center, but I like the term children of all ages, because we try to get youth activities as well as a senior building, because the senior side didn't use all of it. And anyway, we tried to carry over the daycare center, but from the original building, that it was not feasible. And we actually sold that operation and concentrated on the senior side.
Maria, are you talking about daycare for seniors or daycare for children?
We were trying to get daycare for seniors, and it never developed. See?
I see. Okay.
Neighborly Senior Services had 50% of the original building. It was leased out to them. And when we started to build this new building, they thought they were going to actually operate this building. And they didn't know at the time, when we broke ground, the county decided that Northern Pinellas Community Action would operate this building. And of course, their feathers were rustled, and eventually they departed from Palm Harbor. They got a grant, a bequeath from a wealthy family in Tarpon Springs, and they built their own building. And from then on in, either anybody from Palm Harbor either had to go to Tarpon Springs or to Dunedin for senior services. Unfortunately, we weren't able to raise the interest of going into a senior services, which meant a liability and at least a nurse to be operating in a board of directors. So we went on to something else.
Right. In the mid-90s, you were building the center. You got a grant, I think, from the state, didn't you? As I recall, the Department of Elder Affairs gave a grant primarily for the building. Isn't that correct?
No.
It was not for the
It
building.
was
Okay.
for the renovating of the old building.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Neighborly wanted additional space. They wanted programs that they wanted to put on, and so they drew the plans of what they wanted, and we took them to the county, and they said, well, we have no money, and Senior Affairs was interested because we'd never made a request for funds from them, and we were going to get $555,000 eventually came through, and Jack Lavella was instrumental in getting it through, and we got that federal grant, and we
It
started.
wasn't a federal grant, it was a state grant.
Yes, it
State,
was.
From the Department of Elder Affairs, right.
Right. That's how that got started.
Okay,
So
very good.
all right,
So that really was sort of the beginning for that building to the north of us. Is that right, on 16th Street? Is that the one you're talking about, that building?
The Child Development Center.
Right. That was the Child Development Center, but it also had respite services, as I recall, for adult seniors,
Well,
right?
it had several
Families,
several
caregivers,
different
and so on.
varieties of different
The
things.
beauty part of
going
that
on there.
building,
Right.
Sally,
Hold
let
on.
me interrupt here just a second.
Yes.
When we went in to refurbish that building, it was originally designed for children. We looked into the bathrooms, and the toilets were about that high. So you didn't have any question about who's going to be there.
Right.
But it was designed, beautifully designed, and we didn't have an awful lot to do except painting and here and there, and fortunately we had some funds to help do that, and then we also had control of it. The county was very generous with us on what we needed, what we asked for, and sometimes you say you better watch what you ask for because you might get it, and we did.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got it. Charlie, you look like you're about to say something.
Well, I was about to say something, and all this time we was working on this building, and we decided that Pop Stancil Park needed to be something done with that because we didn't have any garbage pickup, and the garbage, old cars down there and all kind of things. It just was Palm Harbor's garbage disposal place because the garbage companies didn't come around to pick up garbage, and so we got the Chamber of Commerce and the Civic Club. They decided they'd sponsor that park, and so that lucky or unlucky one, I happened to be the chairman of the park, and it took us about 4 years down there with the help of the county to get that park going down there and get the places put up, and all the stuff is mostly done with free labor. And I remember I sent my tractors down there and trucks and to get that place cleaned up, and we had a friend over in Ozona, Leo Scott. He brought his semi trucks over here and helped haul the stuff out. That whole piece of used cars, washing machines, refrigerators, everything you might think of was there on that land. But we cleared it up, and you can go down and see now. It looks like a pretty nice park. And of course, the county bought the land for the pier, but I was down there looking around the other day, and I noticed some of the boards are missing on the pier, and I don't think the county has got the money or wants to fix it up because so much thievery goes on down there. People need those boards out of the dock, seems like, and they just take them, and so.
Charlie, did the North Pinellas Community Action Council, was that Pop Stancil project part of that?
Well, it was kind of part of it in a way because we had to have the people, they had to be back and support, a park going down there. So it was a whole community that was working on the park.
I think it was the chamber and the council and probably lots of other people that came out and
the
did it,
chamber was one of the main ones down there, and we worked for 3 or 4 years getting that park going.
You can be very proud of that. That's a nice place to go, and I live close enough to walk down there, so I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, well,
thank you for that.
It was
that
a lot
work.
of hard work, and the county helped a whole lot. They got us to help get the land for the pier and stuff, with some land down there Stancil didn't own. we got a deal with Stancil that we could gave us a park if they'd give him a title where they could sell the rest of the land around there. See, that was a depressed area, and that across the railroad track, and Stancil wanted to get that property where he could sell it for some other reason besides, you know, it being depressed land. And so he gave us the land for the park.
For that exchange, yes. So let me move forward just a little bit. What year then did the Palm Harbor Community Services Agency get involved, or did you get involved with them? Because they support this building, the center, but you all are still doing lots of other things that has kind of evolved into a different kind of organization, or I don't know how to say it, maybe a broader kind of organization than you originally had. The center is funded by FICSA funds.
Right.
Palm Harbor Community Services Agency.
Unfortunately, when the library and the Parks and Recreation went for funds, nobody knew about it. And at that time, they got the $250,000. Unfortunately, the seniors side was
Left out of that picture.
wasn't part of it.
Yes.
And it could have been so much easier because $500,000 wouldn't have made that much difference. We tried to get out, but that didn't work out. But
That was primarily because we were really needing to merge together with those two groups. And so the proposal was made that our groups merge together but still maintain our 501(c)(3).
Right.
And so having done that, we merged in effect, but not necessarily all the way. And I think it's worked very fine since then, and we haven't had too many problems to resolve.
So if you dream dreams about what I guess has become something different than the North Pinellas Community Action Council, what is that to be? What is it going to be today? What is it going to be for the future?
It's going to be Palm Harbor becomes an incorporated community.
Okay, so that's one thought. But is that the mission for your new organization?
It's not a mission. That's Jack Cox's opinion.
Okay, touche. That's fine. Okay, but so what is the action? I mean, the incorporation is a whole other kind of piece to it, Jack. There is really something to me about the services and the programs and the history that you bring with you to talk about what you want to have happen today for our citizens and for the future.
Yeah, we have a mission, and it's spelled out on paper, and I think it's people that are on the board now are pretty much behind that mission, and we're going to try to implement it.
Okay. Charlie?
Well, I don't know about it, because being an incorporated place, it was talking about being incorporated. If you find out every place that's incorporated, find out the smaller cities are having terrible trouble now, and I don't think Palm Harbor will ever be incorporated myself.
Well, let's set the incorporation aside, because that's really not relevant to what we're talking about. I know, Jack's given his opinion.
Yeah, right.
And we could probably have 15 opinions in this room. But what about the organization? Tell me about the organization. What do you see for what should happen today and what should happen in the future in terms of this organization? Is it going to have life?
Let me tell you, when we took over the senior building, we brought back the programs from the Omaha Circle, which was the breakfast, and then later on we decided that we ought to have a Friday night dinner, and the director, I went to her and I said, I'd like to sponsor a Friday night dinner. And the Kiwanis Club furnished the cooks and the services, and that started. And then we put on a breakfast. The SCAT team put a breakfast team on. The SCAT team was a senior citizens action team. Jerry Hooker was responsible for building that on the Omaha Circle location. And when Chet Smiley's was forced out of the recycling business, I met Jerry Hooker, and he said that we ought to start a group of people that would volunteer. To make a long story short, the SCAT team was formed, and we had about 16 volunteers that did so much for the Omaha Circle and brought that same energy to the country breakfast. The country breakfast started out with pancakes and
Sausage.
which the Kiwanis Club started back in the days when the chamber had their winter art show first Saturday and Sunday, and
First Saturday and Sunday in December, it's the
December.
Palm Harbor Art Show. Yep.
And the Palm Harbor Club sponsored the breakfast at the Omaha Circle. And at that time, we were donating $1,000 to the seniors. And we raised, on those 2 days, we raised $800 towards that $1,000. Now, the Kiwanis Club put that on their budget to support the seniors agency. And then we got involved with the food pantry. The church and the members of the church were also members of the Palm Harbor Kiwanis Club.
What church is this? Murray?
Palm Harbor Methodist.
Methodist
Oh,
Church.
the Palm Harbor United Methodist. Okay.
Anyway, they were downtown, and we collected canned goods, and it got tiresome. Somebody had to haul them over there, so the board decided we would give them a cash award, and we did this. And over a period of time, it raised it to, I guess the budget was almost $1,200 for the food pantry, and the Palm Harbor Kiwanis Club, which was established in 1978. I happened to be the charter president, and I was responsible for securing the manpower for the activities that we took over, which was we adopted the Child Development Center, furnished all of the playground equipment. In fact, we had to do this before they got their occupational license. And this is all donated manpower and donated material. And
One thing you can count on Kiwanis for is children's programs. They're really wonderful champions for children.
Well, children was number one, see, and that worked out fine. I was volunteering at the Child Development Center also. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when we got over to the new building, we brought over the breakfast, which Jerry Hooker transformed it from pancakes to a country breakfast. And when I talk to people about the country breakfast, I said, well, if you have breakfast with us, you won't have lunch on Sunday.
That was a good way to put it, because I remember those were a hearty breakfast.
And the first year we were in operation, we were looking for ways of making money. And I made a suggestion to the director that we give canisters out to everybody and ask them to save their coins for the night. So I was working the dining room, and as they were being served, and I'd walk over and talk to people and say, now look we're going to have a birthday party next December, and I'd like to invite you to attend it. Oh, great. I said, now you know, if you're going to go to a birthday party, you have to bring a gift, or you should. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to give you something, and I want you to fill it and bring it to us at our birthday party. And we raised $2,500 on that particular program.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Well, tell me then about some of the things that you would like to continue to do. I know you've had in the past things with the Deaf Service Center, with the AARP, with the Neighborly Senior Services. you've worked with a lot of different organizations that provide services to this community. Charlie, go ahead.
I think the one we've left out particularly is a fire department, you know.
Okay.
We had to have a fire department in Palm Harbor, which I had the privilege, or not privilege one, but I enjoyed serving. I was served over for 20 years and have the only person that's got a plaque for service in the fire department, you know, it's an honorary fire member, a commissioner. So I appreciate that, and that was, we started just taking had a tin can and took it to different places and they'd give us money, and we started the fire department. But the fire department actually started in Ozona, because they had a fire, and one of the people that got killed, and it was a store owner over there in Ozona, Mr. Johnson. And so the fire department was started in Ozona there, almost starting with the government gave us a fire truck, an International Harvester truck with no cab and everything, but it's a fire truck, and it was really good for the woods.
So how did this tie in with the North Pinellas Community Action Council?
Well, they got kind of all tied together. Everybody was working for one good cause, to make Palm Harbor a better place to live.
But it was only one element. The fire was only one element of it, right?
Well, that fire was just like the other parts of the services, you know, just like this building or the building north of here, or the other different things that was happening in Palm Harbor to make Palm Harbor what it is now today. Of course, it's an unincorporated
Is there anything
city.
else you'd like to say about the North Pinellas Community Action Council and what it is today, or what you see it is, or some kind of perspective on the past? I think it's really helpful to hear from you experts that got this started and have continued to keep it alive. Anything you'd like to say about it?
Well, I think the main thing was when we got the buildings built, you know, that was a big project, and the county furnishing the money to help us, and the different places everybody got the money from, and it was just a bunch of things that went on in Palm Harbor to make Palm Harbor the place it is.
Right, that's true.
When the merge was made,
Sally, there's a mission statement here, I think, that probably I'd ask Crystal if she'll read it, because I think that we're dedicated to that.
Actually, we're going to lay it down on the video when we do this video, so it'll be complete.
Okay. That's the mission.
Yep, she's going to send that to me so I can put it on the video, and we'll have that in there. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Murray, did you have something you wanted to say?
When the merge was being made, the two boards met, and it was decided that Northern Pinellas Community Action figured we would bow out. And the Parks and Recreation says, no, we'd like to keep you. And so we had advisors from each board. And the deal was that should Parks and Recreation have need for funds that are not in the budget, conceivably the Northern Pinellas Community Action could come to the rescue. So we adopted this program, and they asked for money, and we negotiated, and we rebuilt the second year. In due time, we refurbished the computer equipment. Let's see, what else did we do? Well, they asked for confection ovens, and we said we'd give one if they gave one, so that worked out fine on that. And they wanted a room equipped for anybody that wanted to come in and have a cup of coffee and chew the rag. So we said, fine, we'll go 50-50 on this thing. So this is our primary. We're backing the seniors now. The center now is to back up its fundraising programs. We have 3 on the schedule right now that will take 2 years to fulfill. We're having one in November. I call it a harvest dinner, but I don't know what we call it. But anyway, it'll be our first project to raise funds, and the deal is that 50% of the proceeds will go to the center and 50% will go to our treasury. This will keep us with an income coming in. Now, one thing we don't lack ambition, we don't lack funds, but we lack manpower. And we strongly ask those that are listening to join us as a volunteer. And I'd like just to say, in my opinion, the reason why I've lived so long is because I was a volunteer. And I think that this is a challenge that you can take and bank on it, because I've had a grand time being a volunteer in Palm Harbor.
What would the volunteer do if they put their hand up and said, sure, I'll volunteer, but what do you need me to do?
We want them to participate in our programs. Like I say, we're going to have a dinner. We're needing help for that dinner.
Okay.
We're going out today. We're going out to ask for donations for that dinner.
So fundraising
Is one of our prime movers, and that's the only way we can survive. We've got to make people understand that if you want this building to continue, you have to give some time to the community.
Right, and that's one nice thing is that you've done a lot of partnering through the years, and you're continuing to do that partnering. I can tell by these things like fundraising, and continue to bring forward new ideas for new programs and new needs, and maybe these days when you're at a point where people use more technology and they go to the website and say, well, why would I want to come to Palm Harbor? Oh, well, there's a senior program that is being done here. I think you have done a lot of really good things for this community and are leaving a wonderful legacy. So Charlie Jones and Jack Cox and Murray Smith, thank you for all you've done, because you've been champions and icons and friends of the residents of Palm Harbor.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's the center now of Palm Harbor.
Right.
And this merger that took place, I think it has worked, and I don't think that we need to reinvent it. So I think that we should make it function to the best of its ability, and I think it will with the people who are dedicated to do it.
And how are you going to do that?
The building right now supports people of all ages, because we have senior programs here, the bingo, the country breakfast, the Friday night dinner, and our proposal is to continue to raise funds through our efforts, but we lack manpower, and like anybody else, we need volunteers. If you're interested in helping your community, make yourself known at the center and fill out an application and take the challenge. Donate something back to your community that is your personal gift to the community. Don't be a taker, be a giver.
And the Community Action Council is trying to raise $25,000. Is
That's
that
our
my
goal.
understanding?
That's our goal for you.
Right. So part of that will be, and that will be primarily for partnership programs that you'll be doing
Right. We're
here at the
partnership.
center and maybe even out in the community. So you're going to do the dinner fundraiser. What else are you going to do?
We're going to do some recruiting,
Okay.
and we're going to fill our vacant spots.
All right.
We need those right soon now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we'll be glad to have you do that, and I think that the community will step up. I look forward to that.
Well, we have to.
Thank you.
I mean,
Sure.
if they want it, they're going to have to help us.
That's right. You guys can't do it forever, right?
We're
Well,
tired.
almost forever though. You've done it almost forever. Thank you very much.
I had a real good friend of mine who wrote a book of poetry.
Yes.
He made the name of the book of poetry, "Now is a Long Time." So think about that a little
That's
bit.
good.
Now is a long time.
Thank you guys.
I wanna wake up in the morning where the orange blossoms grow, and the sun comes peeping in where I've been sleeping, and the songbirds say hello. I love the fresh air and the sunshine. It's good for us, you know. So I'll make my home in Florida where the orange blossoms grow.